Have you ever noticed how different a school feels once the sun goes down? All the noise just disappears, the lights turn dim, and those hallways that felt so normal during the day suddenly seem to stretch on forever. Some people say it's just the silence playing tricks on your mind, but others believe that schools remember things. They hold on to events, people, moments that never fully left. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 terrifying, true school night horror stories from people who thought they were completely alone, but they weren't. So, turn down the lights. Put on your headphones, and let's begin. Our first story comes from someone who stayed late one night to finish up a project. Their high school had a basement that students were strictly forbidden from entering. The teachers all gave the same excuses. There's water damage. The flooring is unsafe. Basically, stay out. One night, this person was finishing up an art project and lost track of time. By the time they packed up, most of the lights in the school were already off, casting long, eerie shadows down the corridors. As they walked toward the main exit, they passed the old, dusty stairwell that led down to the forbidden basement. And that's when they noticed something very strange. The basement door, which was always locked, was now slightly ajar. No one ever left that door open. Ever. Curiosity got the better of them, and they stepped closer, just planning to shut it tight. But right before their hand touched the cold metal handle, they heard a whisper drift up from the darkness below. "Is someone up there?" The voice sounded incredibly strained, like the person hadn't spoken in a very, very long time. Mustering up some courage, they called back, "Hello, do you need some help?" There was a long, heavy pause. Then the voice said their name. Not hey, not kid, but their actual first name. Instantly, every hair on their neck stood up. No teacher or staff member had any idea they were still in the building. All of their friends had left hours ago. Who could possibly be down there? And how did they know their name? They started backing away slowly, their heart pounding against their ribs. Stay mobed. The door creaked open just a little more, very, very gently, as if someone on the other side was pushing it with just the tips of their fingers. A low, shaky breath wafted up the stairs, a sound full of decay and age. That was it. That was more than enough. They didn't wait for another sound. They turned and ran, sprinting straight to the main exit without a single glance back. The next morning, they tried to bring it up with the vice principal, who immediately told them that the basement has been padlocked shut for years. Nobody had gone in or out the night before. But when they explained what happened, the vice principal just stared, his face losing all its color. He finally said, "That door shouldn't have been open. We'll check it out." But the way he said it, the look in his eyes, you could just tell he already knew something was terribly wrong down there. This next story takes place during a middle school overnight event. In this particular school, there was one classroom that had been closed off for what everyone was told were renovations. Room 114. The windows were covered with paper, the lights were always off, and nobody was ever allowed to go inside. During the overnight lock-in, my source and their group of friends were walking past the hallway where room 114 was located. Everyone was laughing and talking, just normal middle school stuff, until one girl in the group suddenly stopped dead and pointed. "The light's on in there," she whispered. They all turned to look. And she was right. A single, faint light was glowing through the paper-covered window. As they watched, a dark shadow passed in front of it. Just a flicker of movement in the supposedly empty room. At first, they thought maybe a teacher was using the room for storage or something. So one of Tim, the bravest of the group, walked up and knocked on the door. The second his knuckles hit the wood, the light inside instantly turned off. The entire hallway was plunged into an unnerving silence. They froze, waiting for an answer, but nobody inside said a word. A teacher who was chaperoning the event came over, looking confused about why a group of kids was huddled in front of a locked classroom. She tried the door handle. It was locked. She tried it again, jiggling it this time. Still locked solid. She frowned and said, "No one should be in there. Nobody even has the key for this room tonight." And just as she finished her sentence, they all heard it. Faint footsteps from inside the classroom. They were slow, deliberate steps, moving closer and closer to the door. The teacher instinctively took a step back. The footsteps stopped right on the other side of the door, so close they could almost feel the presence of whoever was in there. The students stood silent, barely even breathing. Then, lightly, 3 distinct taps came from the inside of the door. Not loud, not angry, just steady, rhythmic taps, like someone was letting them know they were there, listening. They didn't need any more convincing. They all hurried away from that hall and refused to go near it for the rest of the night. The following week, the school made an announcement that room 114 would remain closed for further structural inspections. But none of the students who were there that night believed that official explanation for a second. They knew someone or something was in that room. Our final story tonight comes from my friend Sarah, who used to work in her school library after hours, helping to reshelf books. The library was on the 2nd floor of the building and had large windows that overlooked the school's central courtyard. One evening, as the sun was setting, she called me, her voice a hushed whisper. "Can you please stay on the phone with me? I feel like someone's outside the window." I thought she was just trying to scare me. I mean, it was a joke we had, but then my phone buzzed. She had sent me a photo. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. In the darkening glass of the library window, there was a faint but undeniable outline of a face reflected in the glass. It looked like someone was standing right outside, looking in. But the library was 1 story up. There was no balcony, no ledge. Nobody could possibly be standing outside that window. Sarah's voice trembled over the phone. "She's just been there for a minute, not moving at all. I told her to forget the books, pack up her things, and get out of there immediately." She grabbed her bag and started walking as fast as she could toward the library exit. But before she reached the door, she heard a soft tapping sound on the window she had just been looking at. 3 taps. Slow, even, purposeful. She couldn't help but turn around. The face in the reflection was closer now, clearer. It was pressed right up against the glass, close enough that she could make out the shape of long, dark hair spread against the window pane. She screamed and ran out of the library, finding the night security guard and frantically telling him what she saw. The guard, though skeptical, went to check the courtyard outside. He found nothing. The courtyard was completely empty. There were no footprints in the damp grass, no ladder propped against the building, nothing at all to explain what she had seen. The next morning, when Sarah told the head librarian what had happened, the older woman's face went completely pale. She leaned in and quietly said, "Years ago, a student fell near that window during a school safety drill. People who were there claimed she tapped on the glass for help right before she slipped. As you can imagine, Sarah never, ever closed the library alone again." Schools hold so many memories. Some of them are good, some are forgotten, and some just never seem to move on. And let me know in the comments which stories scared you the most. And remember, if you ever find yourself alone in a school after dark, and you hear footsteps in an empty hallway, or tapping on a closed window, sometimes it's much, much better not to look back.